up, guys? It's your neighborhood friend, Mike the Realtor. Welcome to another episode of Mike Talk. I'm stuttering a little bit. Why am I stuttering a little bit? Why am I nervous? And why do I have all this Bears gear on? You guessed it. Because I have, as a guest today, none other than our former tight end for our 2006 Chicago Bears Super Bowl team. Try saying that in one fast sentence, right? There he is, number 88, Des Clark. What's up, Des?
What's going on, Mike? How are you doing today?
Nervous and stoked, man. Just like I said, the show's real life.
Well, what do you know this about?
Man, I got a legend, dude. We got legend. We got a legend on the show, man.
This is not like the first time we've talked. I mean, I done been to your house and held a meal and everything else.
You're
on to the office and everything. So.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing me a little bit of peace right there with that. But yeah, I really wanted to quickly just say the story on how we met. As everyone knows, right, my name is Mike the Realtor. I'm a real estate agent, and one day I get an email, and it says, Mike, I'm interested in real estate, blah, blah, blah. We go back and forth, and I just keep looking at the email, the name, and it's like, Desmond Clark. And I'm like, that can't be. Desmond Clark? Nah, can't be. And he's like, Mike, I want to see this place. All right, great. We get to the place. I'm about to open the door, and sure enough, you turn the corner. And I'm like, snap. It's Des Clark, for real. And it was really dope moment, man. So it was really cool, man.
Yeah.
Share that.
And truly, I can't even remember how I got in contact with you. It's probably through all the wonderful marketing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it was my first time going to live in the city. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna live in the city, I need somebody to help me figure out what locations are good, what neighborhoods are good. And you were the guy who helped me do that. So I appreciate that.
Man, I just, at the end of the day, you get starstruck, but, you're like, okay, this is business. And he, this is important to him. And for me, it's all about, the people and my clients and their stories. And I wanted to help you. So, man, thank you for allowing me to serve you. And thanks for having me on today, or vice versa, right? I mean, this is kind of like
this is your platform. This is yours.
When I first started the podcast, there were two people that influenced me to do this, and one of them was my guy Mike, who's his name is Michael Ramos, and he is an inspector that inspects some of the properties that we help our clients with, because he just didn't know he could do it, and then he pushed through. But it was one that kind of like motivated me to put the legs on it, and that was you, Des, when you started bringing out these Motivation Mondays, and you just started getting all of us in tune with the same mindset. And it's hard to fall off track, but thanks for that, because that's what encouraged me to put legs on something as simple as just allowing my anxiety to flesh out through something like this. Tell me a little bit about why you created yours.
Well, just to speak on what you just said, we suffer more in our own thoughts than we do in actual reality. Because now that you're doing this, man, you're killing it. So it was, now that you're in it, now you're saying, why was I even hesitating from the beginning? And that's something that we talked about now is like, we never feel like we're prepared for that next thing until we start taking action to get prepared for it and start to doing it. Yes, are you better now than you were before when you first started doing it? Because when you first started doing it, you probably was not prepared. But as you continue to do it, you continue to prepare yourself for the next moment, the bigger moment, the better moment, to be at another level. And that's what Motivated Mondays is all about, is, man, how can I take my platform and all of the experiences that I've had over the years, right? The people that's been hammering the same things into me that allowed me to set a certain mindset for myself that I still have to struggle with from time to time, and give that away and help other people reach that next level of success or expectancy or whatever that is for them. So that's what Motivated Mondays is all about, getting everybody ready to go for the beginning of the week. And what is it that we're trying to get done? Let's go get it.
And I started looking forward to those on Sundays, and I think that helped shift my prep week a little different, right? I started looking at Sunday evenings as, yes, we rest, I do my family thing, church, whatnot. But I know that in the evening, it's mostly like football if it was in the wintertime, or sports, us, we wanted to catch on the Masters and things like that. Like, we're all over that. But I think at night, I find myself saying, okay, instead of going to bed and just prepping in the morning, it's more like, no, I'm preparing tonight. So that way in the morning, I'm ready to rock and roll and attack the day and put legs on the things that I wrote down. And that's a struggle for me sometimes.
Right. And it's the struggle for everybody, right? And I just wrote on one of my comments that first it starts with thought, then it starts with planning, and then it starts with actions, right? So that's just the natural progression of how we do things. And if we stop at any one of those points, we don't get to the finish line. So it's just important to just be aware of of where we're at, what we're thinking, how we're thinking, what point of the process we're in, because if you keep going, that's how you create that momentum. It's always do what's next. Do what's next. Okay, I'm here. What's next? Man, I wish I could show you my whole board over here of all the things that's next with me. And that board keeps me motivated because I get up and I come in here and I look at my board and say, okay, here's all the things that I'm trying to accomplish on the left. Here are all of the variables on the right, like people and times and products and things I got to do. All right, what do I have to do next to accomplish what I have on the left side of my board? And there's always, what's that next step? And that's how me personally, I keep building that momentum as I keep it in front of me. And so I never have to really do too much thinking. It's there. It's right there. And as I think of different things, I put it up there so I know what's either next tomorrow, next today, or next sometime next month.
And you know what? That's super interesting because when because I love to like write scripts or like working on multiple things that, I'm writing, and that's what I do to storyboard, right? Like I'm writing what's next on the character, what's next on the scene, or whatever comes to my mind, I'm writing it. Why couldn't I do that with my own life, right? And that was, man, that rocked me.
So you just said something very important. People who know me, they know I'm very good friends with Manuel Mesbah, right? And him and I was just talking. I just went through an ordeal myself. And something that he always would say is that your life is a movie, right? And you have to be the hero in your own movie. So when you're talking about writing a script, what script are you writing for yourself every day, right? And that's important. A lot of us, we get up and we have no script for today. We have no type of plan. We don't have, hey, how's this scene going to play out? And how's this scene going to lead to the ultimate scene at the end of this chapter or the end of this episode that we're trying to create? And then what is that going to lead to for the whole, the big picture of everything? And I think when we start looking at our lives like that, now we've become the heroes of our own story. Because here's the thing, Mike, ain't nobody coming to save you. Ain't nobody coming to save me. We have to be the heroes of our own story. And now I say that it is not about, hey, I'm just doing it about myself. Most heroes have a team, right? Whether that's just people helping them out that you don't see, or they may have a sidekick or whatever it may be. That man had his butler, right? That always helped him out. So we also got to build those teams and write them into the script also. But ultimately, you have to be the hero of your own real life motion picture.
You say that aggressive because we're afraid of that. Like I'm like real talk, right? Like when I started realizing things as I got older, this is why mental health for me now, as I'm studying it more and I'm learning more about it, it's becoming more part of my life. Like I want to be able to cultivate relationships with foundations that are going to be able to put these places back into the city. That's a whole nother topic of conversation, but bringing it back, it's like I need to be able to push through those fears. And when I started writing is when I felt myself pushing through those fears and saying, no one is going to come and make this happen. Whatever it may be, right? Financially, like at the end of the day, we have to cultivate our own, right? We make our bed and we lie in it, right? And I think, yeah, I don't want to keep rambling on, but bingo, like,
But we got to say it out loud, Mike. We got to say it out loud. I may fail. I may not do this. There's some things out there that, hey, if I don't get right, it's going to set me back. And you got to come to terms with that. But then once we come to terms with that, that's the obstacle, right? There's going to be obstacles in anything that we try to accomplish that's worthwhile. I mean, even being married, Mike, you know this, there's obstacles there, right? And you got to acknowledge those obstacles and just say, you know what, they're there. Now, what's the opportunity behind the obstacle once we can master the obstacle? And then attack that obstacle knowing that the real opportunity is right behind that. And that's how, when I look at something that's real daunting, right, that's a monumental task, and it's like, man, like, that's kind of scary. Can I really do that? And then I thought to just process it. Like, what is it that gives me pause? What is it that I'm going to have to eventually get past or conquer? And then I started focusing on the outcome that I want. Once I processed all the obstacles, now I'm only focused on the outcome. I'm not worried about nothing else. I know what the obstacles are. I'm not worried about that now. What do I have to do to get to my outcome?
wow, that's good.
And really, that's been my mindset over the last few years. I didn't always have that mindset, right? And the reason why that mindset is so, I think, successful for me, going back to something you said, mental health, we focus on so many of the distractions of life, right? And we get tied up into all of the what ifs, and they did this, and what was the purpose of that, and this, that, and the other. Well, none of that stuff is going to help move me forward. All that's going to do is make me frustrated, keep me angry, and keep me distracted. If it's not about how I get to the opportunity, how I get to the next mile marker of what I'm trying to get accomplished, I don't have time for that conversation. You can't bring that conversation to me. And now, if you want to bring me something that's going to help me move forward,
yeah.
Man, we can have that conversation all day. So I'm just focused. After I process the obstacles, now I'm only focused on what the opportunity is that I'm trying to get to.
And I think even when we get past that obstacle, sometimes we're like, whoa, we got past that. And it's like, what did we learn from that? And I think that's another thing is like, what are we good learners as much as we are good like teachers, right? And so for me, it's like, for someone who loves to teach, at the same time, it's like, I need to be a good learner, right? And I needed to learn things about myself and the obstacles and things that I didn't want to acknowledge years ago.
Right.
Hence why sometimes that, you know, it causes the anxiety and whatnot. But acknowledging that and being able to push through and then learn, right? Like, I don't want to go back to that. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing that we don't do enough of too. I think it's two things that you just said there. One is life is like, talking about being a teacher, life gives you the test first, right? It gives you the test first.
Okay.
And then you have to stop and pause.
Wow.
And you have to reflect. And you have to process. And then that's where you get the lesson. Whether you pass it or fail it, right? Because we're going to fail sometimes. That's just part of life. We pass the test or we fail the test that life is putting in front of us right now. We have to pause and let that experience catch up so it teaches us the lesson that we need to learn from whatever we just went through.
And then you teach with this amazing internal compulsion that just bursts out of you. And it's like, man, he went through it. He went through it.
And you know what? It doesn't have to be something bad. It doesn't have to be something catastrophic. And you see the stuff that I post and the stuff that I write. It's just because I'm always trying to take inventory of what's going on around me, what's going on in my life. Like, what did I just gain? What did I just lose through this process? How is that going to help me or hurt me in the future? And all I'm doing is just taking that stuff out, rehashing it, recycling it for everybody else to see. And just like you said, now I get to teach from a point of experience where, hey, I've been through this, and these are the things that I learned, and I want people to understand how I process it, because now they get to come to the conclusion, do I agree or do I disagree with his assessment of it? And that's on them, right? But I'm just laying it out there, giving you my thought process, and then it's on you whether that makes sense, or I would have thought about it a different way.
And I think a lot of times, I know for me, it's like, you don't get it, you don't get it, you don't get it. And it's like, I'm frustrated myself that someone ain't getting it when I'm just like, why am I wasting all this energy and it's taken away from what I have at the home front? And that's when I had to be like, yo, let's bring it back. And it reassess, like,
That's that thing of control, right?
that, yeah.
Was you want to be able to control their thought. You want to be able to control, well, I'm giving you the lesson and I want you to think about it a certain way. This is how you should think about it based on how I'm thinking about it. And here's the thing, our experiences, our life experiences, where we come from, and all the information that's been fed into us, that's what makes us think more. And that's another thing, man, that I've learned over the last few years, man, is just release control.
Yeah.
Release control. Look, here's an information. Here's what I think. Now, you got to do with it what you will, because you know what? At the end of the day, Mike, that's what's going to happen anyway. They're going to do what they will with the information that you give them. And you can't control that. All you can do is influence it.
That's
And I'm going to throw a good plug out there. And that's one of the reasons that I changed my company from Des Clark Speaks to DC Influence and Leadership Academy. Because all I'm trying to do is influence. I can't control.
That's good. That's good. And, you know, I think it keeps me stuck there because it's the influence from someone who's been through certain things, right? And then for your platform, Des, like, you played for the NFL for so many years. And prior to that, like, it's not just you just walked into the NFL, right? Like, you spent years at Wake Forest, which I want to transition a little bit into that because it kind of, like, that's your foundation, right? Like, congratulations, by the way. You're now inducted into the Wake Forest Hall of Fame, right? That's a big deal.
Right. Substance. That actually happened in 2014. I think you referred to what happened with all ACC, and I believe, I got that right here. I became a ACC legend last year. And I believe that's what you're referring to.
And I'm looking at stuff, and I'm like, Hall of Fame, Wake Forest. Now you're legend for ACC. Like, that's a big deal. That's huge. Tell us about that. Like, tell me a little bit about that, bro.
The group of people that I went in with, right? Peter Warwick. Me and him, we had battles here in Florida together. Football and basketball. We did play each other in football. Reggie Wayne.
Wow.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And, you know, Peter Warwick was probably the most electrifying wide receiver at Florida State in years, right? First round draft pick. Frank Beamer, the Hall of Fame coach from Virginia Tech. Vonnie Holliday, who was a first round draft pick out of North Carolina that was first round draft pick in Green Bay. I mean, you had all kind of guys like this that's in that group. And I'm looking around like, this is pretty dang on cool, man. Like, these are guys that I look at and be like, man, that dude, that's that dude. So for me to be in that group, you know, I had to sit back and be like, guess I'm that dude too.
Right. You're a legend. You're a legend, right? And that's crazy because we consider you here a legend, right? Like, there's less than a handful of tight ends.
But you know, it's hard to look at yourself like that, right? Because when I look at me, I just see me. And for me, you know, I don't see like legend. I just see, all right, the work that I put in, the lessons that I learned, you know, from my past where I'm going to my future. And, you know, that's really what I see, all of the superlatives. And I know I've done some good things. I'm not naive. I know that I had a really good NFL career, but, you know, I always feel like you put out the work, you put out the effort, and it's up to the people to decide where you belong in all the rankings of whatever.
Yeah. And so when they presented you this, how far in advance do you know, like, hey, expect something in the mail?
I actually knew in 2020, but then the pandemic hit. So they were thinking that we were going to do it for the ACC championship game in 2020. Pandemic was already there, so nobody was at the games at the stadium. So they had to push it off for a year, and then they called back in 2021 saying, hey, we're going to do it, and which was great for me because this year, Wake Forest was in the ACC championship. Now, ultimately, we lost, but we were well represented in the ACC championship game. So I got to get inducted in front of my home crowd.
It couldn't be written any better, right? I couldn't even written that script any better. That's all.
Exactly.
Congratulations on that, and congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
Like staying on the topic of football, especially, come on, Des, where we at, baby? Where are we at?
Yes, sir.
What do you see? Well, by the way, congratulations on our Super Bowl team, because you are our tight end, man. You were like, we have not seen, many on the Bears that can fill those shoes that you had left behind. And so that's...
Hopefully we get one there now.
Exactly. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. What do you see as far as the Bears now moving forward? We just got, what just happened? We kind of cleaned house.
Right.
Tell the fans, tell us what the real talk.
So I'm gonna be honest, man, because I could sit here and I could spout out a lot of stuff and people believe me. But honestly, man, I've been so focused on my speaking, coaching, and training business that I haven't been able to follow the Bears as much as I want. Now, during the season, I watch the games. Like, I only watch two teams. I watch Tampa and I watch the Bears. That's all I watch in the NFL. But as far as everything that's happening behind the scenes and off the field, I really don't know. But here's my sense anyway. I thought it was time for a change because it didn't seem like the team was progressing. And here's what I had to say about Coach Nagy. Like, as a person, I think he's a really good person, and I like his philosophies and everything. But when you talk about professionally and just doing the job, when you are an offensive head coach and your offense has continued to struggle since you've been there, you was in the middle of the pack one year, and other than that, you've been at the bottom fifth of the league. That says something about your ability, right? So that's what I've seen as a coach. Hey, whatever he's trying to implement, whatever he's trying to build upon as an offensive coach isn't working. Now, even if the defense was carrying the team, that's great. But if you got to be an offensive coach and your team is not consistently putting up good offensive numbers, that's an issue. So that's why I thought it was time for a change, just for that reason. And of course, we're losing.
That's when it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. The acknowledgement, right? Acknowledge it early, and then that way you can just pass it on to someone more gifted, in your coaching lineup. But yeah, I mean, I think at this point, man, we're excited that we feel like we needed that fresh start again. And we were frustrated because, from a fan's perspective, we're just like, man, we're a better team than this. We're way better than this.
We want to think that we're better than that, right?
Exactly. I mean, you guys went to the Super Bowl with Grossman, man. Like, Grossman.
Here's the thing. Grossman threw 25 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
And we had a complete team that year. We were just above middle of the pack in offense, right? Our defense was special. Our special teams was special, right? There wasn't a weak link. We could run the ball with the best of them. I mean, we had Thomas Jones, and we all rest in peace. But man, we had that two-headed Cedric Benson and Thomas Jones, that two-headed monster back there. And then when we needed to throw the ball, we could throw the ball. Bernard Berrier going deep, Musa Muhammad doing what he was doing. I was pretty good at the tight end position.
You're right. That's shoot. Come on now.
I was cool up here.
Dude, you were automatic. We were like, let's get those yards.
And think about that, though. Think about when the last time we've had a complete team like that. You got to probably go back to 2010, where we had a running game again. I mean, we took a lot of sacks in that scheme, but we were able to throw the ball around when we needed to. Defense was good again. I don't think our special teams was as good, but it was good, right? But yeah, building that complete team like that, man, that's hard to do consistently, but we've seen it done. I think as Bears fans, if we could see other people do it, we want to be able to duplicate that same thing too. But now is, how do we create that cohesiveness, that culture, and that clarity that I'm talking about as a leadership training all the time? How do we create that and continue to bring in the pieces as other pieces fall off that's complementary or even better than the pieces that we had before to keep that consistency, right? There's got to be a very tight strategic plan in place, and it's got to be executed year after year.
You know, it just brings me to like the question, if the Bears call you and say, hey, yeah, we're going to need you to come on and teach some of these tight ends what we're going to be doing. All right?
No, that's not actually, I mean, so here's the thing about those coaches, man, they put in major work, major time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you hear the fans talking, man, if the fans only knew what type of time these coaches put in and the dedication to the craft. Now, they may not always get the results, but I can guarantee you, man, these coaches are working their ass off every single day. So that's why I don't take shots at coaches, right?
Yeah.
And I don't take shots at players either, because I know what they have to go through. But that's not a life that I want to, I mean, in the facility at 5, 6 in the morning and not leaving to 8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Crazy.
So I'm a family guy. I want to see my kids grow up. I want to see my wife. I spend time with her.
Right.
They don't have that life, man. They sacrifice all of that to try to win football games for not only themselves and the organizations, but the fans.
And for $15 an hour?
Hey, I like what I'm doing for this side, coaching leadership, coaching execution, and all those things, and corporate narrative, because I have that balance that I want.
Before we bring this to a landing, I know that there's just something that's near and dear to you, and I did want to kind of bring that up a little bit, right? You're a big ambassador for breast cancer awareness, and I know that it's a touchy topic, and of course I wouldn't touch it if it's something you wouldn't want to talk about, but as an ambassador, I think there are many people out there that may have family members, moms, aunts, grandmas that may be suffering from something like that. Right. Tell us a little bit about being that ambassador and how someone can help.
Right. Well, my mom passed away from breast cancer back in 2015, and it's not really a touchy situation. It's something that we all face. I mean, if you had 10,000 people outside, 10,000 adults, and say, hey, don't raise your hand if you've never been affected by cancer, everybody's going to raise a hand. Or raise your hand if you've been affected by cancer, right, in some way. So my involvement came after my mom passed, and I started Pink Tuesdays, where every Tuesday I will wear pink just in acknowledgement, not of just her, but in her memory and what she wanted for everybody else. She wanted to be that person to help other people get through it, because her whole mindset was that she was going to get through it. She was going to be okay. And then once she beat it, she was going to help other people get through it by being a support system. So me wearing that pink shirt on Tuesday and putting out the messages and just asking people to be strong and support in where they can is just me continuing to live out my mom's legacy of wanting to help people that's going through that fight. And not just breast cancer. I mean, cancer is cancer. It's all. But here's the thing, man, and this may get me in a little trouble. The one thing that I don't like about our society and our medicine, what we have, it's all about fighting the symptoms, right? And what I've learned over the years, if we put more effort and more money and more knowledge into the prevention of, because cancer can be prevented, right? And even when we get cancer, they say you are what you eat. I'm just going to say that's the secret to it. If you're putting the right things inside of you, and, all of us have food addiction.
Sure.
We all eat brand stuff, but it's because that's what we've been taught. That's what's being promoted. That's what's being put in front of us all the time. And if we wanted to, as a society and the powers that be, what in Chicago, they were adding an extra tax for like a bigger, like a 32 ounce or anything. They was trying to add like taxes to that. And I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world, because you got to tax the people, but you're not going to tax the corporations and the people that's making billions for putting it out here that's making people unhealthy. What kind of sense does that make? You're going to tax the person that's buying it, but you're not going to attack those people that's putting all the bad products here and tax them so they can't put as much as the bad products here for us to.
And then they make.
But
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, but I was gonna say, but the responsibility is on each of us as individuals, right? We can't say, well, why did they do this? Because we have control, and all we need to do is take control. If we and then whatever, cancer or life or business or society or whatever it be, we can't say, well, what about them and what about that person? Individually, we have to take control of our own space.
And just to piggyback on what you just said about what they put in front of us, it's like, yeah, we're going to tax you for this because we're sort of punishing you. You want this, it's bad for you, so we're going to tax you, rather than taxing the one who's making it, right? And that's crazy. It's like, okay, we'll take the punishment, I guess. It's crazy, right? And what you say, right? It's just this way of kind of just making us follow the leader, I guess, and I mean,
right. What other choice do you have? To not drink it? That's a great choice. I mean, if you want to drink it, you should be able to drink it without penalty.
Correct.
Besides the penalty that you're putting on yourself.
Exactly. And that's crazy. It's like twice. Des, man, thank you so much. What's next for Des Clark right now? What's going on? I know that you're going you're in public speaking now. You're influencing thousands and thousands of lives across the country and even across the globe now, because I'm seeing some of your followers are not just from the United States. So what's next now? Are you heading onto a plane now? Are you going out of state? What's going on? What are you focused on going into the summer?
It's just continuing to grow DC Influence and Leadership Training Academy, right? We are building a pretty good message here that's getting out. And, for me, my belief is that we all have seeds of success, not only seeds of success, but seeds of greatness, right? But those seeds of greatness, they have to be cultivated in the right type of environment. They have to be watered, they have to be fed, all of that stuff. And my thing is, I want to influence people to understand their own greatness and understand that when you're seeding, like when you have seeds, the growth starts underground, right? And for us as humans, the growth starts inside of us before we see the outside payoff, right? And start to help people understand that and try to influence them to work harder on who they are as people. And then as we get better as people, all of that other stuff will manifest itself on the outside.
It's amazing because I always say it's internal, and then it makes its way out, right? And it's not the other way around. So that's beautiful. That's how we're going to go out today, right? Des, if anyone wants to book you, if you got corporations that say, you know what, I want Des to come and talk to our employees and spark us, and where can they find you?
They can find me at Des Clark Speaks, DEZ, my last name Clark, speaks with a S.com, or they could just hit me up at Desmond, DESMOND, at DesClarkSpeaks.com. And that's me. You're getting right to me, right to the source. But I'm going to tell you, you better do it quick because things are growing, man. I was just telling my wife and my business partner, I'm going to have to start turning people down because I don't want to be gone 200 days out of the year on the road. I got to spend more time at home.
That's awesome. Maybe we'll get you on for another episode of that. Yeah, something like that.
Yes, sir. But I'm at home. Yeah. So as long as I'm at home, I'm good.
Entrepreneurship. What are you going to tell an entrepreneur right now that's struggling, that's saying, man, I don't know if I can push through? Before we go, what are you going to tell us as entrepreneurs that are discouraged?
Change the question. Can I? Change that question, because when you say, can I, that's a question of doubt, right? How can I? Yeah. We can all figure it out.
That's good.
And if you put in the time and you put in the effort, and I was just talking about this on Motivated Monday, as you level up your time, your energy, it's not that it's harder. You just got to put more time, more energy, more thought, more creativity into everything that you're doing as you level up. So it's not can I? We all can. It's how can I? And that's what we got to figure out. And that's what I'll leave entrepreneurs with.
That's it. There you go. There you go, guys. How can I? How can I? It's Monday. Whether it's Monday or when you guys are going to listen to this or watch this on Thursday or Friday, it doesn't change, right? Every day, right? How can I? And I think that's a great question to leave us with, to self-reflect, analyze, acknowledge, and then make those changes for us that struggle with that, result. How can it? Like, we don't know how to get there.
It's going to take work, and you can't be afraid of hard work.
That's where we're put on this earth to work. We're men. We got to work. All right. Thank you so much, Des, again, for taking the time, 30 minutes of hanging out with me, man. I know your time is precious. Thank you, guys. If you guys, again, want to talk to Des, you guys want to find Des, and you want to book him for your event, I'm going to go ahead and put the links down on the YouTube channel and here, so that way you guys could watch it. All right, guys. Till next time, thank you for hanging out with your neighborhood friend. For my boy Des Clark, the Bears and the Demon Deacons.
Yo.
Mike the Realtor and Mike Talk. So long, everybody. Be sure to subscribe. Peace out.